Welcome back. In this part, we will take a look at taking everything that we have created in SOPs. We'll bring it into Solaris for look development, lighting, and rendering. All right, so in the end of the chain of this Halloween container, I'm going to press tab and type lop network. So this will be our little portal to the lighting and rendering, and let's double click to go inside. So this will open up the Solaris context. We have an empty Solaris scene, and we will just use SOP imports. I assume that you have cached everything, because if you didn't, please go and do so. Otherwise, everything would take much longer to load. And we will be bringing everything directly from SOPs for this example. So it's going to be nice and fast. So let's press tab and type SOP import. So we will start from the pumpkin. Let's call this pumpkin. Let's select SOP import, and then in the SOP path we'll go and let's open up the Halloween, and we have out render pumpkin accept. So our camera is actually going to be like the viewport would be set to exactly the same perspective and angle as the actual camera. So from here we can create a duplicate Solaris camera by just going to no cam and new camera. So you would see that we'll have exactly the same camera as we had in SOPs. So if I go back here, I guess it's just loading everything. Yeah, so we would see that the pumpkin would be exactly in the same spot as here. So that's pretty convenient. Otherwise, we would have to copy all these values to the camera that we already liked in SOPs. So this is the camera. We will take a look at animating the camera a bit later. Then let's put a merge SOP, lop actually. Yeah, merge lop. And then let's continue bringing things in. So we will bring in the bones. So SOP import bones. Okay, so these are the bones. Skull bones. I'm not sure why the skull is not there. Let's just jump back in. Yeah, it's supposed to be bones with the skull. Okay, maybe we'll figure it out a bit later. For now, let's just keep it in. It might be also something with the view clipping. Oh, actually, now we can see it. All right, fine. So let's now create a quick ground. So we're gonna do grid. So this grid is going to be our ground. Okay, I'm gonna connect it here. So these are our basic components, and we can actually even start doing the look development and lighting using these, because the effects are making the scene heavy, right? So we will bring the effects in the next batch. So we can still bring them in, but I will start doing the look development on just these fragments. Okay, so let's bring in the effects. So SOP import ice, smoke, and let's click here. So I didn't actually create the outputs for those. Let's just jump back in to SOPs. Yeah, okay, so no out mouth smoke, and this other one is gonna be ice smoke. Okay, let's jump to the lop network. So the ice smoke is here. Okay, let's check it out. Okay, cool. Then let's duplicate this. Let's call this mouth. Mouth smoke. Let's direct it to the mouth smoke. Cool. And then for the actual candle, we will bring the 3 elements for that. So let's call this sub-import candle pyro, candles pyro, and then we will bring in the candles wax, and then we will bring in the candle, the wicks. Okay, the wicks. Let's merge these into one. Okay, let's merge these effects just so we can connect them and disconnect them as needed if we need to basically look development on separate elements. So then I'm going to merge this one from here, and then this one from here, and we should have the complete scene. Okay, so this is the smoke. Oh, we're still bringing the mouth smoke, so let's bring in the candles pyro, and we'll bring in the candle wax, and then we'll bring in the wicks. There we go. And this is all now has the camera. Okay, so just like I said before, I'm going to start doing the look development and the overall scene lighting and mood just on the pumpkin and the skull first, because the effects would be a little bit heavy for interactive preview. So I'm just going to bypass that, and we are going to start with our main lighting to define the mood of this scene. So if you look here, you can see that there's this kind of purple background, and then we have some kind of nice volumetric rays coming out from the eyes of the pumpkin. So this could be achieved by creating a karma fog box that would be mostly covering the background and then slightly bleeding into the pumpkin. And then if we create a simple spherical light inside of the sphere with a very small radius, because of the its strength and small scale, the rays would be much sharper and they'll shoot out from the eyes and the mouth, and this would be our one of the main kind of mood setting light sources for our scene. The other ones are going to be more complementary, so this kind of top direct highlight and the back one, these are our more like key and rim lights, but the main light is going to be coming from inside of the pumpkin. And obviously we're going to set the flames into a light source as well. Okay, so let's set up the main components for the pumpkin light first. So I'm going to connect actually we're just going to merge the camera in because we're going to be animating it. So let's continue like that. After this we will have the oops, I didn't want to do that, so I just wanted to separately connect. Okay, so after this we'll create a karma fog box. It's a very nice and optimized volume, and we can see definitely that once I put it down, we can see the actual box, and the volume would be only created inside of this box. Okay, so if I just render this out just like that, if I let's actually first save this scene. So save as look dev. So let's just go to Karma XPU. So you can see what we have. We have a little bit of the volume there, and I also recommend setting the background to a dark gray. Okay, so we have a volume and we have a pumpkin, right? Let's make sure that the Karma fog box is actually covering. If I zoom out, we want to make sure that it's covering most of the ground, and the ground actually needs to be much bigger. Okay, so we're going to set this grid to be 50 in scale. Okay, so we're working with a much bigger area, and I don't really care what's happening in the background. It's going to be all in the fog, so the Karma fog box we will need to adjust accordingly. So I'm going to select the fog box, and let's put down some values here. So we are going to scale it. Let's go back to the Houdini VK viewport. So we're going to scale it to 750 in X. It's quite large. Okay. And then we're going to scale it to 151 and 315. Okay, so it pretty much covers a big area, and then I'm going to translate it back to minus 154. The exact number was 154,986, just in case, because sometimes even a slight difference can cause different look. So you can see it's basically covering the pumpkin like right on the edge. If I go here, yeah. So you can see this is the pumpkin, and this is where the front edge of the fog is. So we would actually capture the pumpkin inside of the fog, but it would be not as dense as the fog behind, right? Because it will accumulate on top of itself. So we will put down the camera here, and I want to set the colors to something purple. So 0.24, 0.27, and 0.525. All right, so let's now see what this is going to look like. Karma XPU. So you can see now we have a fog and pumpkin inside a fog. We don't have any light sources yet. So let's now create a light source. So I'm going to press tab and type light. So this will create a point light right in the center of the scene, which is going to be this 0, 0, 0. I'm going to move it up a little bit, so it's going to be more in the center of the pumpkin. So I'm going to go transform 0.55. So it's more here, and then I'm going to transfer it back a little bit, 0.25. Okay, but now let's connect it and let's see what is going to happen. Cool. So now we have the light that will be coming out of the up here, and then it will be I think we have to actually put the Karma fog box after this to see the difference. Let's put down a merge node, just so we have something. Okay, so we have a light that is shooting from the outside. So now the next part that we need to do is to set the Karma fog box. And we actually, if you don't want to see these kind of points, we can just click on select. So with the Karma fog box, we can set it to be denser fog, so 0.25. We can reduce the shadow density to 0.05. And then we can increase the scattering phase, something higher. Okay, so this should give us more or less Okay, so that's what we have. Let's now go back. All right, so you can see I just needed to reset the viewport. This is basically what I needed to show you. So these are our fog box settings, and you can see there's a slight kind of bleeding of the light in from the eyes, right? So what is going to happen if I start increasing the exposure, something like 2, we're gonna start getting something cool like that, right? But right now the shadows and everything is way too sharp, and we don't want this to be white light. We actually want to change it to some kind of color. So for the color I want something warmer, so I'm going to set this to 13, 1, and 2.7. 1. Okay, so we have something more like that. But again, like I said, the shadows and everything is way too sharp. This would work for a scene that would be in, you know, space, where the only light source is coming from the sun and the shadows are quite sharp. But we're going to change this to a sphere. And as soon as I'm going to change this to the sphere, everything is going to become much softer. But now we would have a control over how soft this light is going to be by changing the radius of the sphere. So if I change the radius to something like 0.0375, which is the final value, you would see that, well, the light got weaker, but if I start increasing this exposure to something like 15, now I can see that we have soft shadows and we have a much stronger light source. Okay, so for now I'm gonna set this to 10, so something like that, but this is already a great start. So this is exactly what I wanted for the moon, right? I wanted to have these nice rays of light traveling through. And based on the scattering phase, if you set it to very high, it will basically eat up all the lighting. It wouldn't let it scatter that much. If you keep reducing it, it will scatter a bit more. A value of 0.25 worked pretty well for this. Okay, so this is basically our main mood for the scene. Next, I obviously I want to see the pumpkin. I want to see everything else. And this wasn't enough, right? So we need more light. So let's create Karma Physical Sky. The Karma Physical Sky added some brightness to our scene. And we will need to make some adjustments here as well. So I want to rotate this light. So we're going to change the solar azimuth to 45 degrees. And you can see that we're starting to get the highlight on the top of the pumpkin. And then the exposure I'm going to set to 2.5. Okay, something like that. The base color we can set to something cooler. You can click here and then you can click and hold on the temperature. I think I just went with the blue Polaward sky. So yeah, this was the values. Okay, so we got something like this. For the sky, however, I don't want too much of this ambient skylight to fill the scene. I want the scene to be quite dark, right? And you're also looking at the more or less composited image. This wasn't just the raw render. Maybe I can load up the raw render so you can see the result. Yeah, so this is more or less the raw render. And I'm working with ACES, so this is what it was looking like. Okay, so let's aim for something more like that to start. So in the sky parameters, if we go to sky, I have reduced the sky intensity. If you go open up the base, the sky was too much. Let's do 0.25. So the sky fill light isn't that much, and you can see now we're starting to get more of this orangey light coming through. Everything else I believe is the same here. The other thing with the sun, I have increased the angular size to have softer shadows in here. So if you put this to something like 5, this would soften up the shadow, all right? And also make the highlight a bit bigger. Okay, so this is this. Now let's increase this light back to 15 because we need some more of this. And you know, these would change. I've been changing these from 12, like 12.5 maybe. But the more we start adding materials and extra things in the scene, the more we'll have to tweak this light. Okay. Okay, so this is what we have for this one. And let's add one last light, which is going to be mainly the rim light from the back of the pumpkin. All right, so I'm going to add another light. So this light would be distant. So we want this to be a distant light. And I'm going to set this to be, click here, click and hold for the temperature, just the blue. Maybe actually, yeah, I'm gonna set this to something like 225, 0.66, and 0.15. 1.5, yeah, something more like this. So then this distant light I want to orient. So if I plug this in right now, and if I give it also an exposure of 1, we wouldn't really see much, but I want to brighten up the back of the pumpkin a little bit. So we're gonna go to the transform and set this to -30 and -120 degrees. So now if I turn off the eyes, let's turn off the polygon selection. You would see now the back of the pumpkin would have slight brightness. We wouldn't really see it as much. Like for example, maybe if I turn this one off as well. Oh, this looks completely off for some reason. Distant light. Actually, I needed to create a distant light. Distant. Let's do distant light. Okay, maybe this will help. Okay, distant light, exposure of 1, 225.66 and 1.5. And we all want to rotate it -30 and -120. Okay, this is exactly what I wanted, right? So we have our kind of rim backlight in here. And let's turn on the fill light. Okay, great. And now let's turn on the eyes. Okay, cool. So we have our 3 lights, and that's basically all the main lights that we have. Everything else would be coming from the candles. So once you set up the actual lighting in your scene, this is how I usually like to work. First, I set up the lighting just to set up the mood. Then we can start creating and tweaking the materials.